Hello there in YouTube land.
Welcome back.
Today we're going to tackle a movie we've talked about on the channel before, but not in depth.
No, we only kind of mentioned it, and it's by one of our beloved authors,
Stephen King. And this is our review of
Salem's Lot.
So, if you don't know the story of Salem's Lot, a writer returns to a small town that he used to live in when he was, like a young teenager. Yeah. And he had lived with his aunt, and she had worked at this big house in the little town called the Marston House. And the Marston House is known for being the house of this notorious gangster, and there's a lot of evil things that happened in and around the house. But the small town is a usual bucolic small town until the vampires arrive.
Yeah, they kind of roll up in there and things start getting a little more real.
Yeah.
As will happen when a vampire rolls into town.
Yeah. We might need more of that, actually.
Yeah, we do.
So, at any rate, this film is one of Tabby and I's favorite films of all time. Tobe Hooper directed it. He made some changes between King's novel and the film. One huge one is that the vampire Barlow does not speak in the film.
Yeah, and that is very hard to act out.
Reggie Nalder did a fantastic job showing the presence and animalism of this vampire without ever speaking one word.
And presence he had.
Yeah.
I mean, he could give you that creep factor without saying a word, without making a noise, without anything.
And if you get on, like, horror groups on Facebook, and people start talking about Salem's Lot, they start talking about when they saw it as a child, they had numerous nightmares about Barlow. Which, for me, is always funny because I never had any nightmares about Barlow. I did have one dream where Barlow came to my birthday party.
I had a dream about having tea with Barlow.
So, you get the idea what Tabby and I are like.
There was no vampiric,
No.
There was just, would you like some sugar?
In mine, he, killed all my friends, and, then we went off, he turned me into a vampire, and we went off and did vampire things. So,
Yeah, we were just kind of, mine was, kind of we were getting to know one another, and this is my brain, and this is how my brain works. So I had my own little pot of tea, and I had warmed some blood in another pot for him.
Which I'm sure he really appreciated.
So, there's my brain. I will have tea, you can have your blood, and we will discuss the matters of the world.
In your dream, did it say where you got the blood from?
No. I'm a redhead. We don't ask those things.
Oh, well, true. Just you have bloody enemies laying around,
Probably have it in the fridge.
Yeah. At any rate, back to the movie. When I first saw the film is when, back in the 80s, it was really common for them to cut down miniseries into what was considered to be the standard, film length. So, when I first saw Salem's Lot, it was in the cut-down version. I had the cut-down version on VHS. It wasn't until I was a bit older that I got to see the full miniseries.
Right.
I'd always known it was a miniseries because my mom had talked about seeing it on television when it had first aired. And my grandmother, who is now sadly passed, had this tendency to scream at any time something jumped on screen. So, since Salem's Lot has all these jump scares, every time turned around, Grandma would scream, Mom would jump because Grandma screamed. And that was Mom's memory of this film. And she's like, Dani, you have to watch this because I know you'll enjoy it, but it's not necessarily scary for you, but this is what's funny, don't watch it around Grandma.
My grandmother absolutely loved, the Stephen King miniseries, Salem's Lot, The Stand, anytime. So when I was little, I was watching The Stand without permission. It didn't bother me at all.
No.
Neither did Salem's Lot.
No. One of the most powerful scenes in the film, leading up before you necessarily know there's vampires, is when the two delivery guys are hauling the sideboard. And in the movie, the way it's set up is these guys have this delivery truck, and they have the little window in the back of the delivery truck, and they can see back into where the load is to be able to tell, like, is everything still in place, you know?
Right.
And this crate keeps coming forward and forward and forward.
Which is a big comic.
It is, but the way it's presented is actually kind of creepy, and they complain about how cold the crate feels and all this stuff, and it was really effective filmmaking.
It was, and it really, everybody you could tell was just kind of on board in that movie. They were just spot on with what they were doing, and King always has so much more going on in his stories than what is presented.
Yes.
And it's hard for a movie to capture that, and this one did.
It did, and because Tobe Hooper took the time, one, the advantage was it was a miniseries, but two, he took the time to make sure that you really got the idea of what life was like in this small town before the creep happened, which I still think Salem's Lot is King's strongest book because he does such a good job at having this whole lead in. You start out with this small town, and there's like normal things like this guy's having an affair with this other guy's wife, and you have the little old lady that runs a boarding house and all this stuff, and then, you know, when the bad stuff starts happening, you see all these people's reaction to the bad stuff.
Yeah.
And it's neat to see like this almost treatise on human emotion.
Human emotion, human reaction, and, you know, talking about kind of that little backstory with the characters, he is notorious for that.
Yes.
Because you could have happy grandma type figure, but she might have murdered 10 people in her past or robbed a bank. Who knows? It's King.
Yeah. And he gets away with being able to do that, like, and have like one sentence about grandma that describes all of that.
Yeah.
He just has a knack for being able to do that, which I admire greatly. But the film, Tobe Hooper did such a great job transforming King's novel into a visual art.
He did. And it was, even with the makeup effects, you know, Barlow himself, you got this is a vampire, this is creepy, this is blah blah blah, but also, if you looked at the ambiance everywhere.
Now, here's a funny bit about the ambiance and having to do this film. So, before color correction was done and the film was put on DVD and Blu-ray, you actually had primary color vampires. Barlow was blue.
Yep.
Glick's mother was green. And the guy that sits in the rocking chair was red.
Yeah.
So you had a blue vampire, a green vampire, and a red vampire. And for me, that added to the odd and otherworldliness of this film, because it was something that was so bizarre.
Because you had to sit there like, am I seeing this right? Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
I am.
And, you know, I kind of get the idea, okay, Barlow's blue because, you know, when blood stops pumping through an area, the skin gets discolored and so on and so forth, and he's been dead for a long time.
Yeah.
So that part made sense. The green vampire and the red vampire, however, didn't make a lick of sense.
I don't know.
Unless, you know, they're saying that Glick's mother was moldy. I don't know.
Maybe she was more the moldering, gangrenous vampire, whereas, you know, Mr. I don't know.
Well, the guy in the rocking chair was an alcoholic.
Yeah. Well, that's...
So...
he was still a little lit.
Yeah. He's the drunk vampire. All right. So...
The drunk vampire, maybe he had a little blood with his booze. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know.
So at any rate, once it got to DVD, they did the color correction, and you lost the primary colors except for Barlow is still blue.
Yeah.
So, but for the history of this film, on the miniseries and on VHS, a whole generation of people grew up with the primary color vampires.
Yeah. So there's an interesting thing. If you can get a hold of those versions, watch them.
Because it's an experience. And I honestly wish that they would release two versions of the film, like do the primary color version and then have the corrected one like on like a special feature Blu-ray disc or something.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Yeah. So, there's our take
Yes.
on Salem's Lot.
If you've not seen it, please go and watch it.
Go watch it. Go watch several versions of it.
Yeah, because it's great.
Yeah.
So, till next time.
Bye.
Bye. At least I can cut this in.
Maybe we should leave it.
What?
Oh, alright.
Oh, shit.
Whew. Whew. Okay. Oh.
Okay. Oh, we're good.
Oh, God damn. I hate all of you guys for that.
Well, it doesn't help that we get to see our expressions. And that just gets us forget.
Okay. Alright.
Barlow.